our final topic is not board gaming.
Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Well, it is. It can
fail. Edit that out.
Yeah, it can do with both.
Yeah. It's our top 5 gaming pet peeves. Now, I didn't really limit this to anything specific, but I think all mine are board gaming related. Board game, card game, miniature game. Did you do any video game type style?
Yes.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
What's your number 5, Matt?
My number 5 is board game related. I guess maybe it could be video game if you're on Xbox playing something and you're just listening to someone go off. But just bad attitudes in general. Bad
attitudes.
Yeah, you sit down and you play with a guy, they're grumpy.
So Xbox Live.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying. Just people that are complaining about everything. And they might not even be complaining to you. They just complain constantly about anything. They roll dice. It didn't go their way. They're just, the body language, everything just is so south, and they're defeated in their own minds.
I want to apologize to Eric because the last time he was over here, I showed him how to play X-Wing.
Oh, how'd that go?
It was so terrible that I conceded. First off, it's a game where we're rolling tons of dice and Eric's playing.
Yes, okay. So he's got the advantage.
Everything he rolled was a hit.
Okay.
Every dice.
That's unheard of.
I was like, what is going on? And then I roll no evades.
Unreal.
I roll 1 evade.
Yeah.
I'm talking like 3 entire rounds of this happening.
Mm-hmm.
I lost 3 ships and I hit him for 2 shield damage.
Right.
It's dice. I get it. I tried to mitigate it with focusing.
Right.
But I became a jerk and I apologized to him.
Okay. Is that your public? You were number 5. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not saying I haven't done it, but it's just, I try not to go that route. But there's just some people you can tell they're just mad at life or something. Maybe they had a bad day. I don't know, but it's not my fault. It
does take away from the entertainment value of what that situation's supposed to be.
Right.
We're supposed to have fun, play a game, have a good time.
Right. So it's a simple one, but just try and have positive attitude, people.
Yeah.
Not bad ones. So
my number 5 is more of a miniature game kind of thing because I've ran into a lot of people that do this, but rolling dice out of sight. I want to see the results.
Well, naturally.
Yeah, we've played with a lot of people that when we were playing Warhammer back in the day or War Machine or just any kind of miniature games and stuff like that, you got a lot of terrain on the board and like houses and stuff. And if you roll the dice, a lot of people like to play like craps and roll it against something.
Right.
So they're rolling it behind buildings and stuff like that and be like, oh, I hit and pick up the dice. That's so irritating.
I was going to say, at least point and say,
you want to check this out?
Check this out before I pick them up.
Right. Or like somebody I used to play games with would roll a bunch of, we played Warhammer. He would roll, in Warhammer you're rolling fistfuls of dice, basically, D6s. And instead of leaving all the hits, he picked up all the hits. That one hits, that one hits, that one hits, that one hits.
I would say do the reverse.
Yeah, do the reverse, dude.
Pick all the misses.
Right, exactly. That way if you accidentally pick up one, it's your fault.
Right.
So it's pretty simple. Rolling dice out of sight. With board games, it's really not that big of a deal. Because most of the time it's that player's turn and they're rolling and, there's not a lot of stuff to hide behind.
Pretty out in the
games.
open, right?
Yeah, but even then, even when people would play RPGs with, they would roll their D20s behind like a book or something. And it's like, you're a player.
Right.
You need to roll that in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
So anyway, rolling dice out of sight.
Understandable. My number 4, it's definitely a social problem. I haven't noticed it actually a lot. I think the past 2 years at Gen Con, but before it was a bad issue.
Oh, is one of them.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're on it. And, but whenever I used to play a miniature game or card game, sitting down with someone that had some pretty bad body odor.
Yeah. You know what would resolve this?
What's that?
Gen Con being sponsored by Axe.
That would help. That would definitely help. So yeah, it's just the body odor can be a little distracting. I'll never forget. I was playing a certain game with someone and they were wearing sandals and their feet smells like just rolling up under under the table, like into my face.
What is this green cloud?
Yeah, and it was pretty rough. And the guy was like super nice, and he was fun to play with, but it was just like, God, that smells distracting, man.
And I get it. Like if it's Sunday, people have been up 24 hours sometimes, things like that. They've been up the entire convention.
Right.
That's more, it's still take a bath, but it's more understandable. But when you get there on like the day of the convention and people are like this,
right,
you're like, you don't bathe normally.
Or if anything, I carry around a thing of deodorant in my backpack.
Yeah, you just plops them on.
Yeah, you kind of, oh man, I've been sweating a little bit, and oh, let me reapply this.
You need to bring some like Axe spray and just be like, oh man, I don't think I smell that great, and start spraying but missing all the time and spraying the other guy. Yeah. We're jerks.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
we're not really jerks.
No, I mean it's a pet peeve though. It is
pretty small of a percentage at Gen Con.
Yeah,
I think for the most part, serious tournament players is where you're going to run into this.
Yeah, because
they are sitting in the same spot for 12 hours
right.
or the whole weekend, things like that.
And it's kind of like people who complain about things. It's not everyone, but the ones who complain the loudest are the ones that stand out in your mind. So it's kind of the same thing with this.
They make the biggest impression. You don't remember this guy who smelled like
cologne.
Anyway, my number 4 is too much conversation or side stories during games.
Okay,
this is by far super applied to RPGs.
I'm sorry.
And band practice.
Yeah, sorry. I can tangent pretty hard sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, man, we're playing a game. We're keep focused. I mean, it's fun to talk about, have tangents and stuff, but sometimes, man, it's like we tangented more than the game was in length. So, anyway, that's all I got on that.
That's all you got on.
It's pretty quick.
All right. My number 3, actually going back to the Hearthstone and other games, Clash of Clans would be another one. I like Clash of Clans, and but your keyboard cowboys. That's a term.
Your keyboard warriors?
Yeah, keyboard warriors. Oh. It's
I'm gonna hide behind my anonymity.
Yeah, and they threaten you. They say really foul things about your mother.
There is no sense to insult people because you're losing.
Yeah, exactly. Or whenever I played Shadow Era, because you could type on that one and you'd start beating someone, and man, the stuff that would start getting thrown at you, and this
goes back to the trash talk conversation from last episode.
And I found it a little bit easier if you just start agreeing with them, they shut up. So,
yeah, I know, man. I'm terrible at this game.
Exactly. Nice. Blah, 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 blah. I know. Thanks. Your mom's thanks. I know. If you just start agreeing with them, they leave you alone.
No joke. My mom is pretty large, so I agree with you there.
Yes, you got me. How'd you know? So it I don't know. There's no call for it. And I think the biggest problem I have with it, and this even goes for like message boards and everything, they would not talk to you like that if they're in front of you, and not out of a fear factor, just because they know better than to treat people like that, and they wouldn't do it to your face.
Yeah, they're only just mad at that moment, and they don't see you, and they can just type. It's just, the internet has ruined people.
Yeah.
But then again, those people are thinking that stuff. So in the person, they're not going to say it, but at least they're being honest with you at that point.
And I think a lot of things I don't say it. It's that's part of being mature, I think. So, but yeah, there's my number 3.
My number 3 are distractions during rules reading, such as phones.
Yeah.
I know I feel like I do this a lot, but I'm usually entering scores and stuff like that into the app, but I do a lot of the reading. And
you're usually doing the rules.
I'm doing the rules and explaining and stuff. It's usually
me on Clash of Clans. I've gotten better.
Actually, no, but
I put my phone down most of the time, so I've gotten a lot better with it.
The difference is you tell me ahead of time, I've got a raid, I've got to do this.
Right.
You don't just pick it up in the middle of it.
Right.
But even then, it's you listen to rules. It's really whenever I'm explaining it and then somebody's like, what was that again?
Right.
I'm like, are you serious? Like, if you want to do whatever you want to do, that's fine. but at least make sure you're paying attention and listening to me.
Yeah, I'll ask you to repeat things because I'm just blank out in my own mind, I think. And it's like, hey, Tim, go over that again.
Because you're just standing there and you're looking at something.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not even like playing with my phone. Just sometimes I didn't grasp what you said. But I mean, I guess it would be more frustrating if I was staring at my phone and looked up and was like, hey, what?
Right. Yeah. It's like, hey, what do you mean, what? Read your own rule book next time.
Put your phone down.
Anyway.
That's your 3?
Yep.
So we're on 2.
2.
This is actually something you brought up. It has to do with why sleeving cards is a good one. But even just in any kind of board game, I think we're at the age that we know better than to do this anyways. But don't cough in your hands, people.
Oh, yeah.
Cough into your inside of your elbow or just away from everything. Don't cough in the hands and then handle pieces that we all got to touch.
Yeah, or cough and then draw your card in 7 Wonders and then pass the deck.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot to say to this. It's just, that's gross. I mean, that's pretty, and there's been times like at conventions we sit down and right in their hand, I'm like.
And then I got to handle his cards.
Yeah. It's like they're going to touch everything I'm about to touch. So, yeah, that's also why I pack hand sanitizer, but.
Fair enough.
Yep. That's my 2.
My number 2 is BG. OMG. Not narrating your turns.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like my whole list is BG OMG, actually.
Okay.
Or it's mostly doing something without explaining. If I'm sitting there and you're like, all right, that guy dies. I want to know.
Right.
Anyway, I'm not going to go too much into this because you can watch our, I think, first or second episode where we talk about our BG OMG, which is narrating your turns.
Right.
But man, it is so annoying to see somebody just go through their turn and not say a single word. It's like, come on, dude. So that's that.
Maybe I want to respond. Maybe I want to stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, I got you.
All right. Drum roll.
Ooh, my number 1 is cheating.
Oh, how did I not think of spoiler alert. How did I not think of this for the list?
Yeah. So just cheating in general. There's no need for it. I will bring up one thing. I don't know how I even got to this, but I was watching videos on YouTube and they started showing like people who cheat in Magic. And there's a few well-known names. I'm sure if you're in the Magic community, you know who I'm talking about. I don't remember the name specifically. I'm not even going to try and pronounce any of them, but just some of the things that they showed, like how people cheat in these Magic tournaments.
How were they cheating?
One guy, again, this is going to completely.
I feel like Magic, if I went to a convention, Magic's probably the only game I would expect some of this out of.
Yeah. Well, and these are like supposedly like top tier players, like have won some of these big tournaments and stuff. One guy in general, he top loaded guys' decks while he was shuffling it. What he was doing was as he shuffled, he'd see a card on the bottom, he'd flick it, put it on top. He'd keep finding like he'd pretty much mana lock them.
This is why you don't shuffle like that.
Yeah.
You're talking about that like shuffle, like you just slide cards into each other and stuff. No, bridge shuffle, people. Bridge shuffle.
Yeah. So this guy will sit there and do that, and he's going to stack 5 cards that are either lands or something that you got to wait till like really late in the game to even have a chance of playing. And I've seen like 3 videos of this guy doing it.
They let you shuffle other players' decks? Is that what was happening?
Yeah. I think
like me and you switch decks and I'm shuffling yours and loading up the top with crap?
Yes. Yeah, he wasn't doing it to his own. It was his opponents. He'd sit there and pretty much screw their first 10 cards.
Wow, that must be something new because I know they would allow you to, shuffle your deck or whatever. You have to shuffle it so many times, which I'm pretty sure, by the way, 11 bridge shuffles is fully randomizing.
Something like that. Yeah, because I actually watched a video on the different shuffle techniques and which ones were better and everything. But another guy he cheated on it was a procedural thing where I think they said he randomly like played some cards, saw he couldn't win, and just picked his deck up and shuffled it and then set it out to get it cut. And when the other player touched his deck, that was a procedural thing because you're not supposed to handle the other person's deck for any reason. He shouldn't have been shuffling it anyways, but it was kind of,
Wow, that's really
that's lame.
That's lame. It kind of goes back to that guy that you ran into the wild miniature.
Yeah,
game.
The procedural crap. So, but even on top of that, guys who try and flip dice over,
Well, there was the Settlers of Catan winner, or no, Ticket to Ride winner, who got his title denounced because he was cheating. this was a couple, maybe last year, year before.
Really? What was he doing?
He was, so you could draw 2 cards or whatever, and he was drawing extra cards. He was just that good at drawing extra cards without people noticing.
That was another method they talked about was they call it scrying. You'll accidentally pick 2 up and put down and then draw your 1.
Oh, so you know what
the next card is. Or the really good ones will do it, look, and then put both cards in their hand and go, and put another card down. It wasn't in the right order.
Yeah,
which you should catch that if they do something like that. But
I feel like it needs to be like Las Vegas. You draw a card, put it on the table, show your top of your hand, your bottom of your hand. Yeah. But the problem is these people are idiots because if you're getting that far into tournaments, they're being recorded and they're put online. And that's probably how they got caught.
That's what I was watching. What? They were Pro Tour videos. Yes, they were just people were zooming in and showing what the guys were doing.
Yeah, and this is exactly what happened to the Ticket to Ride guy because what happened was it's surreal. Like you could not catch it in the act, but it's like you played way too many cards throughout the game mathematically.
Exactly. And there's no way you had that many cards by that turn in the game.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know, but just cheating in general. It's if you have to do it to win, that's kind of worthless.
I'm glad our group is trustworthy.
Yes.
I could walk away from our game and know that I come back and not a single thing happened. It's not like the Banker and Monopoly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really thankful for that because you could always have somebody in your group that does that cheating stuff, just little things, and it's a buzzkill.
I couldn't imagine it if you had someone that would do that all the time.
I wouldn't play with them.
Right.
Anyway, my number 1 is incorrect measuring in miniature games.
Okay.
For the longest time, I made a joke to people where it's like, I would hate to see you build a house because that thing would look like it's like out of a Dr. Seuss book. Because in War Machine, it's all about measuring. It's in Warhammer, it's all about measuring. It's a little bit different nowadays, but back, 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even the games, it's like, if you're going to move 6 inches, your guy doesn't move 6.5. Right. That half inch could get you into a threat range or attack range of another model and dramatically change the game.
Oh yeah.
Not just a little bit. Like in War Machine, it's all about assassinating the other players, like in chess, killing the king. So if you got that extra half inch to get that one shot that ended up killing my guy, that's a half inch that cost me the game.
Right.
What happens is people will start the game off, right? So you're on opposite ends of the board. You put your characters out, and it's like your characters are going to run, but you run 12 inches because you run double your movement.
Right.
Well, you just moved 13 inches, and it's really hard to see from across the board that you're doing this. Mm-hmm. You do that twice in a row, you're already 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches closer to me than you should have been with your melee units, and now they're in charge range, and they can come at me and hit me. Mm-hmm. Or like you're measuring and stuff, and people... The thing is, it is a little bit of a judgment call because you are measuring from above, like bird's eye view sometimes because the models are tall and things like that. But some people are so bad at measuring stuff, like bad. I don't understand why you would be bad in a game that its primary mechanism is measuring with a ruler.
Right.
Like, I bet when you go home and you build a table, you're not going to do that.
Is the standard movement usually always 6 and 12 or
most characters will move like 6 inches. That's pretty standard.
Do you go from front of base and then
front of base to front of base?
Front of base to front of base.
I have a lot of accessories that are like a 6-inch block.
That's what I was going to ask.
Things like that, right? I've got a lot of that.
That way
stuff.
You could just place it down and move. Touch. I know I got 6 inches.
But you're trying to I do that all the time. I'm like the super honest player when it comes to it. The thing is, I let people do all kinds of stuff in tournaments and things, and it might cost me the game, but I just play it for fun, whatever. Right. And so, but I'm a stickler with movement and like measuring and stuff. So I have all these cool little devices that, different measured out pieces, like a 2 and a 3 inch and a 1 inch and stuff. They're cut for that size.
Right.
And you can get really close into the base, like in between 2 big models. And you can say, because most of them in the second edition rules in War Machine, you got a half-inch attack range. And so if your characters are like, the bases are so close,
right, that
half inch could matter because a Warjack could literally hit you 5 or 6 times if it had focus on it and stuff.
Right.
So you're like, oh, I really hope he failed that. So you put the measuring down, bam. it's not there, you know? And then, but other players are like, no, I've got that totally. I don't know. And then people, going back to the cheating thing, is people will like, when they start measuring, they bump things.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you weren't in range until you just bumped it with the ruler.
Right.
Way to go. And you're talking like, yeah, I know it's nitpicky to say like the line on the ruler, like to measure the inch markings and stuff.
Right.
Literally, if you're that far away, you're out of range. But if you bump them and you move them up a hash, you know, a tiny millimeter or two,
right,
that could put you in range. And that's a dramatic thing. And it's an unfortunate thing because in digital form, it wouldn't happen.
Right.
But in physical form, it does. Thankfully, in War Machine, the community is pretty good. Warhammer was just god awful with that stuff. I mean, people would do that stuff and all the time.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you can account human error in measuring, but like you said, that's a prime component on the game. I mean, it's pretty big deal to get that right. So.
Yeah, and I only put this as my number one because War Machine's my number one. So it makes sense that this would annoy me the most because it has annoyed me more than everything else on this list.
Right.
In total occurrences. So.
Mm-hmm.